So you got your replica 1911 or CO2 powered 1911, whatever it is, and you want to store it in something, don't you? So you could always get a flambeau case, something like that, you know, plastic, padded, very safe, very boring. Or you could make yourself something, you know, a bit more funky, a bit more interesting. So what do? Well, in my case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this box that I bought from a place in the UK called The Works, and they chuck these out for, God, less than a tenner. I think I got this one £6. Quite well made, you know, reasonable size to it, good size, yeah, all that jazz. Gun fits in there quite nicely, and in fact what I can do is pop the gun in a holster like this one. I'm going to age this because it's very, very sort of bright and, you know, perfect nick and all that jazz, but hey. And then stick that on a belt, and then with a couple of spare magazines and a water bottle holder and a ammo pouch, and then I've also got a first aid kit to go on this as well. You know, this was a £5, this belt, and it's pretty well knackered, but it's, you know, it's perfectly adequate for the look. Get all of that lot, you put that in your box, and you know, pop it all in, blah blah blah. Obviously, you know, there'd be a better way of doing that so as it looks a bit more presentable on display. Lovely, yeah, wonderful, nice box. Yeah, still a bit boring. Doesn't look old, does it? Well, how are we going to do that? I'll show you what I do. If you want to do it differently, then you crack on, but I'll show you what I do. Right, the first thing you want to do, grab yourself a brew, beer, whatever the hell it is that I've just knocked over onto the floor. Never mind. That's my set. Square always does a good job to bash them about, doesn't it? Anyway, stop blithering. First job, have a brew, beer, fag, whatever it is, I don't know, and decide what you actually want to do. Now, me, I'm going to paint this because I want it to look sort of World War II. If you're going for sort of an old look, you might want to leave it bare wood, you might want to stain it, you might want to heavily polish it. I'll leave that entirely up to you. I'm going to paint this, and there's two reasons why I'm going to paint it. I'm just going to have a gulp of tea. By the way, I'm lactose intolerant, so my tea's vegan. Sorry about that. That's better. Right, two reasons. One, I want it to look World War II-esque, so I'm going to paint it green because it's an American gun, so sort of an American box. Other reason, I'm going to be stenciling it. Now, I've tried stenciling onto just the bare wood and you get epic bleed. So if you're going to go for a bare wood finish, but you're going to put stencils on, do your varnishing, whatever it is, staining, etc., etc. first, then do your stencils. Otherwise you're going to get bleed. Just one of those things. Okay, very obvious, but just think about that. The other thing you want to think about is, do you want it to look brand spanking new? Like, you know, are you reenacting a scene from 1945 or whatever, and this would have been brand new? Or do you want it to look like it's been in stores for however many years, rats have pissed all over it, probably, and the rest, oil stains, rust, etc., etc. Think about that at this stage, because that is going to have quite a big bearing later on. So yeah, just think about that. I'm going to go for an aged look. The title of the video might have given that away. We've got lovely Phillips head fasteners, and yeah, they need to come out. Now, of course, in the war, you'd have bashed this box together, and you'd have whacked the hinges on and the catch, and then you'd have painted it, so they would have had paint all over them and looked pretty shocking as a result. I hate that, so I'm going to deviate from authenticity because I'm a bit of a tart and I hate hinges and catches and stuff having paint on them. That's me. Call me a freak, call me weird, and you're probably right, but you know, that's just me. So first job, I'm going to whiz them off. Right, next thing you're going to want to think about is handles. I know it's kind of obvious. You can buy pre-rusted chest handles. You can buy just chest handles, rust them yourself. You can buy chest handles and have them mint, if that's what you want. I'm going to go a slightly different route. I'm going to go for rope because, well, I don't know, just fancied it really. So we're going to have to think about fixing that to the side of the box. Oh, by the way, obviously removed the hinges and all that. So yeah, let's drill some holes in the box and let's go from there. Really? Did I just say that? Oh my god, I sound like some sort of manager or something. Ugh. Let's drill some holes in the box and then see how it goes. Oh, I give up. If there's one thing that working on a house taught me, if you're working on something old or you're trying to make something look old, work in imperial measurements. So if, like the UK, you work with the metric system, consider switching over to imperial for this, especially seeing as it's American. So I'm going to go for 1 1/8 inches down, and I'm going to work out where would be about right. I don't think that's too bad actually. 2.5 inches. 2.5. Is that 2.5? That's 2.5. Oh, it is 2.5 already. Look at that. That was guesswork. God, I tell you, sometimes I amaze even myself. I say amaze, I mean disappoint constantly. But never mind. Right, so let's give ourselves a little line. Inch from the bottom. Sorry. Inch from the top even. The hell are you talking about, boy? I have no idea. Sorry, 1 1/8 inches even. Just so excited to be filming again. I'm stumbling over my dimensions and my words. Time is not on my side. Oh no, I'm going to cop flack for doing a video about replica stuff. It's not a real firearm, it's a toy. Well, actually it's a box, and you could use it for a real firearm if you really wanted to. So yeah, there you go. Obviously don't keep it secure. Well, I suppose you could keep it secure in one of these in America, because you don't actually have to keep it secure, do you? What are you doing? That's 2.5. 1 1/8. Oh my god, my brain is unravelling so early. There we go. There we go. Right. I'm using currently Langhorn 10-meter hemp rope. There you go. Anyway, the bit I was trying to find was the dimensions, 14mm. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to whiz a 16mm hole through the side, just to give a bit of clearance really. Go easy because it's plywood, this box. Right, what I'm doing now, just making some little reinforced pieces in there. Purely because this is only a little thin plywood box that's glued together. So I'm just making it a tiny bit stronger. That's all. So I'm going to glue that into place, clamp it, and then I'm going to do one for the other side. Yeah, there we go. Right, that's those reinforcing bits gluing into place. So, excuse the clamps. Next thing you want to think about is oil, rust, that sort of thing. So, how would you simulate that? Well, you could always get some oil and tip it on there, I suppose. Wouldn't look that great, and you wouldn't then be able to varnish over it and that sort of thing. So what are you going to do? Let's go to our old friends, wood dye. For rust, let's try Indian rosewood. It's got a sort of reddy colour to it. For oil, could try Jacobean dark oak, or we have Georgian medium oak. Now, Jacobean dark oak, I mean that's what you're going to end up with, and I've not seen many oil stains on wood that are black. That would be like used engine oil, whereas if anything it's going to be oil that was on the gun when it was new. So I think we're probably going to be looking more like this stuff, aren't we? Give it a shake. And what I'm going to do is just sort of tip it on. There we go. Now just let it settle, really. And then rust stain. Now you usually get rust stains in wood where something metal has been stored against the piece of wood, don't you? And it's gotten old, it's gotten damp. So you're going to have, it's going to be more like an outline of something. So how are we going to simulate that? Well, that is a chuffing good question, actually. I haven't really worked that one out yet. Give it a go, shall we though? Let's try something. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to try, I've got this offcut here. Put a bit of this stuff into the offcut. And what I'm going to just try, doing a line. It's not too bad, actually. Now, am I going to be able to join up with the same place? That is the question. I've made it a bit thick. Dang it. Okay, well, balls that up, haven't I? That's quite an interesting shape. Yeah, let's give it a go, shall we? I mean, rust is rust. Rust does what it wants. That's me, I work in the corrosion industry. Rust is a pain. See, we're letting this still settle, let it absorb in. Now the other thing that you can do to make something wood look old is make it look dirty without making it dirty. Now, how on earth are you going to do that? I use spray paint. Ignore that brand. Must say, all my videos, if you see the brand name, don't go taking that as a recommendation from me of that brand. It's just a brand that I'm using. I don't necessarily like it or whatever. Anyway, I'll probably hurt your ears, I do apologise. Very far away, very light press. Dirt. Now don't worry, might look like there's quite a lot there. What we'll do is we'll sand out some of that later. Now the lid. Now, would you do the same to that? Well, think about it. It's the lid. So 9 times out of 10, even if it was a bit open, it's not going to be anywhere near as dirty, really, is it? So what I'm going to do is actually put that down on the ground from a long way away. There we go. Let's give it some dirt. Still letting that fake oil stain soak in. Sticky tissue. Always a good thing to have in your workshop. Right, so do I want to soak that up yet? I don't know yet. I might just let it kind of just agitate it a bit, make it a bit bigger. Try and avoid unnatural shapes. So whenever you're coaxing it out, if you do end up like I've just done, with a bit of a corner there, coax it out. Don't have any sharp edges, because oil will pool, it will settle. It may form a weird shape like that, but that's what you've got to be thinking about. Natural. Try and make it look like it's happened, not you've done it. Right, something to think about. If there's an oil stain inside, then there's going to be an oil stain on the other side, because of course wood oil will permeate through. Not so important if you're going to paint it and make it look mint outside, but if you're going to distress the paint at all, then you've got to think about what's going to be revealed when that paint's removed. So if I just roughly, which doesn't have to be exact, put my finger about where that oil mark is. There we go, about there. Very ginger because I don't want to knock it over. About there. Let's get our Georgian medium oak again. And let's do a corresponding blob. There we go. Now I am going to leave that to settle. Next thing you want to think about if you are going to paint it is what to use. I've actually found fence coat really works well. One coat, no, 2 coats, but the joy of fence paint is that I don't really know why, but you can still sort of work through it. Maybe because it's not very good, but yeah, anyway, this brand was on offer at my local DIY shop, so that's what I used. Right, well on this occasion it actually needed 3 coats, so yeah, this stuff really drank it up, but you can see the reason there for using the fence paint. See how it soaks in and you get the grain come out. Normal paint you wouldn't get that, so yeah, that's the sort of look that I like going for, because it gives it that old look where the paint has worn off and the grain in the wood is starting to show through. So, what's next? Stencils. First off, work out which way around, so that is the back of the lid. It's going to be that way around. And stencil. What are we going to go for? Okay, maybe a bit Captain America, but well, it's supposed to be American, so we'll go with that. We got it the right way up? Yeah, it looks like it. Is it straight? Wow. There's the question. Just remember with all of this stuff that there's this thing, this common phrase, military precision, that doesn't actually exist, to be honest. So just get it sort of straight, because it would never have been perfectly straight from the factory. Just think of it like that. Remember, you're going for an aged look. You don't want it to be perfect. Not bad. Not bad. Right, so as you remember, it's for a 1911, M1911A1. Okay, not all the letters are there. That's because I'm a skinflint and I don't actually have enough sets. So we're going to have to do it in a couple of stages. Never mind. Don't worry about a bit of overspray like up there. Really, don't worry about it. Tiny bit messy, but yep, don't worry. We'll be tidying that up. Lessons learned. Okay, yeah, I mean, that's the first time I've used that stencil kit. Usually what I do is I actually find the marking on the internet, print it out, cut the letters out. Okay, not great copyright sort of thing. So bought this stencil kit and Yeah, the letters are a bit widely spaced for me, but okay, we'll go with it. We'll just see. You know, it looks alright. I mean, let's face it, we all know what it's supposed to say, so who cares? So next up, think of a year or something that you want to put on the side, or leave it blank. I actually think if I start marking it up with more stuff, I think I'm going to be in danger of overdoing it, so I'm not going to bother with a year. I'm literally just going to go with that marking and the lid, because yeah, I think otherwise, yeah, I mean, that'll do, really. We don't want it looking too Disney. Now, once it's dried, of course, that's the point where you've got to make your mind up. What are you going to do? Are you going to just tidy up your stencil? You're going to make it nice and neat, leave it as is, make it look brand new? Or are you going to make it look old? Inside, I mean, I could see no problem personally with having the odd paint mark here and there, because it wouldn't have been painted that well. They'd have just thrown the paint at it, really. Or do you want it to look perfect? I'll leave that entirely up to you, but I don't go for brand new perfect looking. I go for looking aged, so that's what I'm going to do. But if you want to stop at this point, you go for it. The only thing I would say is, if you're going to be putting webbing, that sort of thing in here, bear in mind that some of your wood stain, your paint, that sort of thing, it could rub off on your webbing. So you might want to at least seal the inside of it. Now personally, what I do is I use this stuff. Matte clear varnish. An interior varnish, it's quick drying, and it's pretty damn hard, really. That's what I like to use for this sort of thing. Up to you. Obviously other brands are available. This is matte finish. If you want to go for satin finish, you'll end up with something like that. It's a little box that I renovated. Just did it to hold my pens in for my drawing board, but yeah, it's quite pretty, really, isn't it? Come up quite nicely. Now this brings me on, oh, ignore the woodworm, that has all been treated. The coloration of the inside of an old box. See, the inside is almost as important as the outside. Always got to keep that in mind. So that's the sort of colouring, that's the way that they age, how they look. So need to think about replicating that. Well, I think I made a bit of a mistake, and the problem is I've run out of the oils that I usually use. And this here, that's the one that I'd normally do all on the inside of the box, and I've used it for that oil stain, so I'm going to have to darken that oil stain a bit and then be able to use that stain to colour the inside of the box. So yeah, I made a bit of a mistake there. Every time you do these things you learn, don't you, really? Every time you think, oh, how could I have done it different? Well, part of growing up and living life is learning, isn't it? Also, not being an idiot like me. Right, if you go for the aged look, what you want to do, think about where is it going to rub on things. You know what I mean? Corners. Corners are going to chafe. Going to have the bottom there. Knocking the camera, I do apologise. Not exactly my proudest moment here. Right, take the paint off of the corners. And the other thing to think about is round off the corners, the actual edges. There we go, like that. what grit I'm using. 320. You can go a bit harder if you like, a bit lower grit. The problem is then you're scratching and it just looks like you've scratched it. And that doesn't really work for me. Whereas, think about damage that was done a long time ago. That damage has had a chance to sort of get smoothed out, and that's what the smoother sandpaper gives you. Because of course the underside of it is what's going to have gotten scuffed along. So get through that paint, scratches. Now just remember, round it off. There we go, nicely abraded. So what else? I mean, the temptation's always to give it a smack with a hammer, isn't it? Problem is, let's get the hammer and let's just give it a biff. It's going to quite obviously look like it's been hit with a hammer. See? There you go. It's just like a dent, really. There's something I messed up on. Should not have gone off on an angle. Suppose that looks okay. Not too bad. Now the actual stencil itself, quite likely, take a bit of that paint off. There you go. There you go. You could always. Do I want to use a hammer again? No, why not? Not really doing much, is it? No, it just looks like I've hit it with a hammer, let's face it. That's quite cool. Right, lid. See how it's bringing that wood grain up and through. The other good thing is it's removed any of the fuzziness from around the outside of the stencil. Now, what I am just going to do, get this, what grit is this? 80 grit paper. I'm just going to go over this stencil and just put a nice scratch in it. There we go. And just rough that off. So we're at this sort of point now, and as you can see, well, it just looks like a bit of wood that's been sanded on the corners. Got to age it now. So what I'm going to do is use this stuff that we looked at earlier. Obviously gloves on at this point. First thing I'm going to do is inside. Now, as I said, that's actually going to get rid of our oil stain, but thinking about this, probably not such a big drama. Didn't look very good, did it? as me going to say, put it on lightly and keep the cloth moving, and just dribble it in. Oh well. Follow the direction of the grain though. Do make sure you do that. Ah, it has worked. That's what the base looks like. So now about this outside face. Oh, I've knocked my damn die over. Oh dear. Well, to be honest with you, I'm just going to mop it up because a bit of dirt doesn't actually hurt. Just go over it. See how the stencil's gone there. Wipe the excess off. Right, do the same to the lid. I'll touch in those areas and then you'll join me tomorrow once it's dry. As promised, here we are the next day. That's how the lid has dried. Looks pretty good to me. And here's the bottom part. Again, yeah, looks pretty good. The only thing that I can't do is where the paint is sort of lifted up and you end up with like flaky paint. I'd probably do it with a heat gun or something like that if I really wanted to, but I don't like that look because it makes it look like it's basically falling apart, whereas I just wanted it to look old. So yeah, that's the sort of look I've gone for. Right, varnish. Now, I'm actually going to experiment this time. So what I'm going to do, quite what this tub that I'm going to put the varnish into says about my personal hygiene, I don't know, but well, never mind. One grubby pot, one pot varnish, which is pretty well knackered, as you can see. The lid, run seal, can you make your lids a bit better, because this one, it's pretty knackered. And now to do what I always tell everybody off. Well, look at that, I didn't even make it through a scene without knocking the camera. God, terrible. I don't know why you lot watch my videos. Right then. Oh, knocking things over left, right and centre. Here's our varnish. Now, you don't have to stir this stuff, which is pretty cool. I'm going to tip it in here. I think that should be enough. Maybe a bit. No, it should be enough. Maybe a bit more. What I'm actually going to do, and well, we'll experiment together on this, because if it doesn't work, you'll see that it hasn't worked. Just putting the cling film back on here and lucky band to secure it. Thank you, Royal Mail, for always leaving rubber bands on our driveway. Very helpful. Give it a shake. And I'm going to pour a bit of this stuff in. Not too much. There we go. Just literally to make almost a wash, if you see what I mean. I suppose that goes back to my aforementioned personal hygiene. Just going to see how that goes. What I may then do is do another coat of just the varnish neat over the top, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Now, what we are going to have to do is make sure that we keep this clean once it's varnished. Oh, look at that dust off my gloves has got on it already. How annoying. Anyway. So I'm using quite a soft brush and going quite easy. What I have found with coarser bristle brushes is that sometimes it actually starts to lift the wood dye off, the stuff that's gone over the paint and given it that dirty look. So yeah, you end up with a bright white stencil again, which isn't really the desired effect. So I'm going quite soft, not putting too much on. I'm going to do the outside and I'm going to do the inside. Make sure you get any bristles out. This stuff dries clear, which is fantastic, and it does sort of pull the brush strokes out, which is really good as well. But any brush hairs, well, it's just going to look terrible. Right, you don't need to watch me paint, so you'll join me in a little while. Right, it's all back together. Put the catch back on. Swapped out those Phillips head screws for just some normal slot head screws. Hinges as well. Yep. Now, one thing just to look out for, of course, and I don't know why I didn't see this coming. Screws probably going to be too long and go straight through the plywood, so I had to file the back of them. And of course, after filing the back of it, it meant I had to do a bit of refinishing. So, well, never mind. Actually, I think it looks fine. I think it looks pretty good. So yeah, now let's do these handles, these rope handles. Right, well, this will be interesting. How on earth am I going to do this? Good question. My excellent ancient hemp rope from Amazon. Genuine, definitely, absolutely hemp rope, without a doubt. Yeah, right, whatever. Oh, I shouldn't have done that, should I? Think. First off, I'm going to put an end through. When you do it, keep the masking tape on. There we go. Now I think normally what you'd have would be some sort of clasp that would go onto the rope, like pinch it, and then that would prevent it from pulling through. I'm not that clever, so I'm going to tie a knot in it once I've pulled enough through and then trim it back. Well, this is what I've chosen to do. The key ring there, just slipped it over, squished it down on. It's the best I can come up with, really. Did want to use some brass split rings that I had, but they just split, ironically, as in cracked, and didn't work. So yeah, went with these. I mean, it looks okay, I think. Yeah, I think it looks alright. Here we have it, finished result. Got rope handles, got holster, 1911 in there, mag pouches, belt, other bits and bats. You could store some ammo in there if you wanted to. And yeah, it's obviously in this country. Yeah, I mean, it's way more interesting than some plastic case, isn't it? Or just leaving it on a shelf. There we go, and I'll be using that at my next Living History event. Yeah, I mean, okay, lessons learned. The rope's a bit bulky, and yeah, it kind of takes too much space. Come on, there we go. Inside of the box. If I was going to do it again, I'd get some chest hinges for it. Chest hinges? Chest handles. What am I talking about? I get some chest handles. You can buy them pre-rusted, so they'd look authentic, or just old looking, which is better than pre-rusted, to be honest, because I think pre-rusted, I think they just stick them in a bath of salt or something, because they are really rusted. But yeah, anyway, hope you like it. I do. And if you decide to give it a go for yourself, good luck. Hope it goes well. Next job. Making this look old because it's very, very shiny. So, if you're interested in that, give me a shout. I'll see what I can do. I know that I owe some people a video on aging the Mauser sling. I'll get around to that eventually. Maybe I'll do the two at once. Double whammy. That could be good. Who knows? Right, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, if you like, share and subscribe, that'd be great. If you didn't enjoy the video, then just pop a comment, say why you didn't like it. If you want to still leave a dislike, okay, fine. But tell me why you didn't like the video. Don't just dislike it and not say why, because then I don't know how to improve my videos for everybody. If you drop me a comment, bit of criticism, it's all taken on board and I try to improve. Alright, bye. There's one thing that working on our he says. Oh, f that up, didn't I? Right, 3 coats of fence post.